How you been? I suppose that's the most important question. Busy by the looks of things?
Yeah, very busy, but I had a month off due to a little fall. Untimed fall, I fell over my pressure washer hose. So we've just got to watch what we're doing now where they're putting their feet. And unfortunately, when I fall, I've got no hands to counteract the fall. So it's like a tree falling without branches. So I smashed my head open, bruised my ribs and collapsed my lung. So I was off duty for about a month, which didn't allow me to go to Ireland and Monaco and Guernsey. So it allowed my boy to go to Monaco, which he had a great time.
He happily stepped in for you, did
He certainly did. And he would like to go back again, he said, to the casino.
But collapsed
lung wasn't the best, yes. 3 nights in hospital. But I thoroughly enjoyed it, I must admit, because the food was brilliant.
Nothing to do with the nurses.
The nurses were great. They were very helpful as well. We got the china cups out for the tea as well.
Right.
And the second night, don't tell anyone, but we were able to get a wee glass of wine. And the third night, some whiskey. So keep that quiet.
Right, we won't tell anyone.
That's good. But we sneaked that in, which was great. So thanks to Carl Hogg, very good friend. He brought it in. So the hospital visit was good. But unfortunately, the collapsed lung, I had to get a drain put in. It wasn't so clever. So that's put me a month back, which I think has made a bit of difference in my arms and shoulders. So if I miss sort of rehab, you could say, going to the gym and swimming, I can feel the effects a little bit. I don't know if you're the same.
Yeah, I mean, it's more like maintenance. Like if I don't go to the gym and do the swimming and the rehab, I find that I don't necessarily regress too far. I think the flexibility side, I'll start to curl up a bit, but actually it's more that I don't stop progressing.
Yeah.
Puts a pause on things, but just keeping active is probably the most important or the easiest source of rehab there is. Just sort of staying out and keeping busy, which you seem to be doing.
Well, and I think with MND, see, we don't know why am I here after 2.5 years.
Just for everyone at home,
yeah.
In case they don't know, can you just briefly explain? You were diagnosed with Motor Neurone Disease, MND, was it 2.5 years
2.5
ago?
years, yeah, 23rd of December
Can you
2016.
just explain what the disease is?
Yeah, if I go back maybe a year prior to that, so I'm a farming boy, I have a little small hold in the Scottish Borders, and with that I was feeding the cows one day and I thought I'd jam my left hand in a big steel door. And being one of the, like your good self, one of the tough guys of the rugby, not like these shandy backs, you see.
So.
So I thought I'd broken my hand because I lost a bit of power in my hand, but I thought I'll be okay by Monday. It'll heal itself. I don't go and see anybody. So 3 months later, it still was very weak, and when it was cold weather, my thumb got really cold. And then 3 months down the line, I felt some twitching on my skin. So I did the dreaded thing of Google and Googled these symptoms, and it came up on the computer that it's likely it's motor neuron disease. So with that, I went to the doctor to say, look, I might have a little issue here. And he says, I think you have. And there's no one outside test to test for MND. So you've got to go through multiple of other tests to see if they're clear or not. So brain scans, for example, went through many of them. An MRI chamber I've been in.
Yeah.
Oh, there's not a lot of room.
That's a wedge for me.
It was.
Just going back to when you Googled that for the first time, what was that emotion like, seeing that there were, did you know straight away that was definitely the case, or did you think, oh, maybe that's it? You know, how was that?
I kind of had a pretty major idea that was it, but didn't know an awful lot about it. Knew that our rugby friend, Mus van der Besses, had MND, and another guy that we're very friendly with now, about Ewan McDonald, who was a centre in Edinburgh, because I met these guys before, maybe a couple of years prior to diagnosis. So I knew a little bit about it, but didn't know enough. I thought, oh, MND, that's fine. It is what it is, and we'll just get it checked out. Fingers crossed it's not, but I had a pretty serious idea that it was. But again, a prognosis, you don't know. So we had to go to like shock therapy. They put needles all around your body like acupuncture, and then put a charge through them just to see how your muscles are conducting. And I was going like this all the time, and the wife was smiling, and I was having a bad time. They had a lumbar puncture again. I don't know if you've done that. That was one of the most horrific things to do. So lumbar puncture to test your spinal fluid to see if there's anything within that. Umpteen blood tests. And the conclusion really is, if all these tests are clear, then that's what you've got. So 23rd of December, that's when we got officially told that we had motor neuron disease. And people don't know, it's like a muscular defect, so your muscles disappear. So eventually you can't walk, you can't use your arms and shoulders for clothing, bathing, cleaning, eating. You can't speak, you can't swallow, and you can't breathe. So it's horrific down the line, but it is what it is, and we've got what we've got, and we are where we are. But the hard part is there's nothing really out there.
Yeah.
One drug, 25 years ago, it came onto the market that really extends your life by 3 months. That's all it does, and a lot of patients aren't on that. Otherwise, nothing there. So everybody with MND has to really self-cure. So they don't get given a prescription. The professors don't say, try this, try exercise, try asparagus, try protein shakes, try...
Asparagus, is that?
Well, I just made that up. Because I think some cancer things, I think if you eat a bit of asparagus, it helps, or things like that. Just wee things. I know there's no drugs out there for us, but even little things that people might get a positive spin off. Not one time really has my professor in 2.5 years after diagnosis come to me and say, big man, try this, try red wine, try Guinness, try again exercise, try hot weather, try and do something that will help. That's not happened, and that's the worry, because every patient wants to be cured. So they go into the dreaded net, and they see a lot of things that I don't think really help them. This is what I found. I'm not the doctor, but so Joost van der Wessen, as I mentioned, he phoned his foundation because, as you know, he's not longer here. He died maybe a 1.5, 2 years ago. And phoned his foundation, and he was flowing around the world. I think they spent about £4 million on him to try and find this cure, and nothing helped. But his brother did say that positive thinking has helped him survive as long as he did. So with that, that's my main drug, positive thinking. I see a chiropractor once or twice a week, so I'm trying to self-cure as well. And after diagnosis, the average life expectancy is between 1 and 3 years of people with MND. So not long. And again, I'm very fortunate, 2.5 years into this horrific issue, still here. Don't know why. The original question, is it because I've been so busy? Is it because the mind has been working, because I've been doing a lot of functions, and we set up this most amazing foundation, and the support and generosity with that has just been unbelievable.
Yeah. I will get on to the foundation, because that's amazing what you're doing there and what you've already achieved. But because I can appreciate some of the stuff you were going through, especially in the early days with that diagnosis, like obviously we've got very different paths in which I want to talk about as well, because I'm in recovery.
Yeah, you're on the way up, and I'm on the way down.
I think for me, knowing people like that on neuro wards, how they stay positive really inspired me, because even with a little flicker of hope, as long as you're moving forward, I found it was easier to stay positive. But it must be very difficult when you know every day, no matter what you do, you're heading in the other direction. How do you cope with that mentally?
Yeah, we talked about it before. Something small like tying your shoelaces is quite important, because then you're really telling MND that it's not conquering you, that you're still in charge, adapting. So drinking a coffee, still drinking coffee. You have to use, I have to use 2 hands, for example, now to have a wee drink. So
that'll probably be the last thing to go, knowing you.
Well, we're in luck.
For some reason his biceps are still working.
It's a very vital part of my life, yes, but it's little things like that, adapting and showing MND hasn't quite got a hold. And yeah, the energy levels for doing things like that are really advanced. So my energy levels to pick a cup up, I think, is 3 or 4 times more than maybe yourself is. And we talked about it before. We could swap. If I could borrow your arms, you can have my legs.
You can keep your left hand though, but
we'll be invincible. But it's the same as yourself. I do a bit of gym and a bit of swimming, and really the reason behind it is to try and tell the body, and that's where the issue with MND is between, there's a chemical imbalance between your brain and your muscle. And you've got to keep telling the neurons they've got to work, they've got to be ignited. And my chiropractor, Donald France, has been absolutely unbelievable with that in my headspace to keep focus, keep going, keep mobility, keep doing. So on the farm, for example, I still drive the forklift, still drive the cars, and still do all this to show that MND hasn't got a hold of me. Maybe in a year's time it might change, but adaptation and something even just like tying your shoelaces, it's a victory, isn't it?
But that's the competitive spirit, I think, the sportsman in you. And do you find that?
But you were the same, I think. We talked about this. You doing things, you practice. Stubborn. Yeah, I think that spot on. Yeah. Stay focused, stay strong and stubborn to say this issue that we've both got is not going to beat us. And that's one thing that I've never wanted to do, is just sit back and sit in a chair. And we're very fortunate, I think, in our lives. We've got a good team behind us that are supporting, and there's other people who are maybe not as lucky with us.
In terms of that, what percentage do you think? I think you're very right that the battle's with your brain more than your body. I think if you can stay positive and stay motivated, then the body seems to follow. And I've found that link between mind and body is way stronger than I ever really appreciated before, because you'd go through periods in hospital where you were feeling down and negative about things that were going on, and I would regress, or my body would plateau. And then there'd be other times where I was feeling positive, maybe my friends had come in, family were motivating me, and all of a sudden I'd start to recover a bit more. And there's no real true science behind that, but it's definitely, I think the evidence is there for me personally that that's a thing.
Definitely, 100% agree. If you stay positive, it helps. It's amazing. The mind is the biggest drug and best drug as well. It can play games on you, but if you keep focused and say, right, I'm not going to let MND or any other issue affect me, I think you'll go a lot further. And is that why I'm here? I really don't know. Is it chiropractor?
I think that's why you're still doing so well. Obviously, I'm not a doctor, I don't know, but in my opinion, seeing you every day with the smile on your face and you're out and about and you're still going to all these events and you're still keeping active, I think that must be playing a huge part in your recovery. But how much...
And I think the other thing about it, if I can say this, is the fight that you and I have. I think it could be the drive through our sport as well, because when I got diagnosed, the professor did say I would not be walking into his surgery in a year's time. So with that, it gave me the fight. And it was quite an emotional drive, because when I got diagnosed initially in Christmas, my mum had cancer as well, so we didn't tell anyone. For the family, for maybe a couple of weeks thereafter. And on the back of that, I didn't know whether I was going to live 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 5 years. And no one can really tell you. And this is the issue with MND. It affects people in different ways. And I'm, again, been fortunate because with the foundation, we get a lot of emails in to say, keep up the good work. And that'll always be done. But there was a gentleman from Yorkshire, his brother-in-law emailed us in to say, look, keep up the good work, because his brother-in-law got diagnosed in September 2017 and died in December 2017. He was 38 years of age and had 2 kids, 2 and 5. So when you hear that absolutely dreadful news, it gives you a kind of motivation to say, well, look, I've got nothing to complain about. I'm 10 years further on. My kids are 10 years further on. So let's embrace and enjoy where we are. And the fight, I think, with rugby, when you don't get picked or you don't get what you want, you fight for it. And because there is no drug, there's nothing there on the table for anyone with MND really around the world. So my fight is to change that, to say this is just outrageous, that people with MND don't have a chance, because there is no options for us, not even one really, to stop it or to get the cure. So with that, that's my drive and my fight to say, right, Mr. Professor, why isn't there anything being done? And these professors say, oh, there'll be something in 5 or 10 years. Well, why 5 and 10 years? Why not 4, 3, 2, 1? Because we've not got a lot of time here. So it's been quite a...
Do you feel like, because you're in a position, I mean, it's amazing what you've done, but you're in a position to speak out about it, you feel like you have a duty to do that for everyone else suffering who isn't in that position?
Well, that's what's happened, I think, on the journey. But if I can say it was probably a selfish thing, it's for myself to start with, to question these professors in maybe a manner that they're maybe not used to be spoken to, because I've got nothing to lose. But now there's a bigger picture where we're flying the flag for a lot of people, and the support and generosity behind that is just truly amazing. But yeah, there's a lot of people, and with that, well, you know, when you don't really consider you've got nothing to lose, because the end picture is not rosy. So now the harsh reality, to speak to some of these professors, they're maybe not used to be spoken to, and that would say, look, 5 years ago, why not 4, 3, 2, 1? What do you need? Oh, we need to maybe go and test on some animals. Why test on animals? Because in a way, people with MND, terminal issue, 1 to 3 years, why not test? If we can get people to do it, and if it works, brilliant. If it's not, what's actually lost? So it's trying to bring that in, and we've been able to put a forum together as well from the top 10 professors in the UK, which has just been unbelievable.
Has there been, the foundation's raised over £2 million now, is that right?
Well, we spent over 2 million, yes, which has been truly, and that's just under 14 months, and that's just incredible. Truly incredible.
Has there been any tangible changes made yet, or are you still knocking on the door?
We're still knocking on the door, but the door is beginning to open, I think, because of what we're doing, and it's taken a little while. Things just don't work overnight where I would like it to work overnight, and it's been quite a frustrating experience. For example, if there's the MNDA or the Scotland MND Scotland do have grant money, so that's money they would like to spend with the professors. It can take up to a year for a project to start, because it takes 3 months to send it out to the professors, and 3 months maybe for them to reply, 3 months to look through, and then you've got obviously 3 months to 6 months to try and get the personnel in place, which therefore is a year plus, and we don't have a year. So the benefit with our foundation is we've got funds that can start projects within weeks, and that gets everything done much quicker. But very complex issue by all accounts, and there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and with that we've funded gene therapy, which I think will make a huge difference, and also repurchasing of drugs, which means that all existing drugs available in the UK are being tested to see if they have a kind of change in MND, and if they are, then they can go straight into the human. If not, then we have to look for new ones. So that's two of the areas, along with a lot of others as well, because we've spent a bit of money on the caring side as well. So for people who find themselves in a bad situation, we're able to maybe purchase a wheelchair, support them and things, which is just an emotional for myself to see that. But truly, truly unbelievable where we are, what we've been doing, what people have been doing. I think over 600 functions for the foundation, and many more hopefully to come, because we need to continue this fight till at least we get one more drug on the table that gives people a chance to stop. But I think that's been a big difference, and this is why the tartan's here, and it's just been, you see people doing functions and having a bit of smile, and that is just truly amazing, and that's what I love. Of a bad subject, there's a lot of good come out of it.
Yeah, and you certainly enjoy your functions, don't you? I mean, a few times I've seen you, you've said things like, well, we're not here for long, so we're here to party, and things like that. And, you know, are you just trying to make the most? You always loved fun and loved to party, didn't you? But now, does it feel more than ever that, you know, there's nothing to lose, you're going to go and have a blast? Yeah,
definitely. But then we've done that for a long time. Yeah. There's reasons behind that. When I first of all came into the Scottish rugby team, that's been my attitude and motto since I've maybe about 1920. Like we're only here once, and I don't know, you might have thought the same. You think you're invincible, you think you're here to retirement, and you plan to do that, but actually you don't get that. You get knocked down like what's happened to myself, and you've got to rethink, you've got to refocus. Now I'm lucky, because 2.5 years in, we've got some great memories with my lovely wife and kids and family, and every do, if I can say this, is like a living wake. It might sound horrific, but I've just had the most amazing time in the last couple of years because of the public, the rugby public, the support, the nature we're on. And one in particular was with Kenny Logan. He put together the most amazing function at Battersea when it was all announced. 1,500 people were there, 150 old rugby players. You can't get a better party to say, if it was cheerio, which it wasn't, so we had many cents.
Yeah.
But in that sort of bizarre way, you see too many people maybe forget what life's about. But this has been able to reintroduce myself that there's a lot of important things out there to spend time with the family, because you think you're invincible, professional sportsman, you're fit enough to see retirement, but actually might not get there. So
you miss what's important a lot of the time. It passes you by. And I think when I was in hospital, what I realised is eventually I realised that you take away your body and you can do all those things, but at the end of the day, you looked around your bed and your family were there, and your close friends were there, and you think, that's what's important, and I'm going to try and get better for them, or I'm going to be here for as long as possible and spend as much time as I can with them, because those are the things you just take for granted.
I don't know if you had similar thoughts when you were in hospital, the same, to say, look, I've got to reevaluate where I am and what I'm doing, and that's certainly something that I've done. And with the kids, the journey that we've put them through is not your normal day at the office, walking onto many a rugby field with the rugby balls. Just been amazing. My son going away to Monaco. He had a great time, but a great memory for a lot of good reasons, and a lot of other functions like that.
We see the smiling, vibrant Doddie all the time, but I know it must be hard at times, especially on your family as well as you. And are you being brave for them more than you are for yourself a lot of the time?
Well, I think I'm maybe quite lucky, and we both talk about this word lucky, and luck's been a big important part of my life. Where I am very fortunate, most gorgeous family, friends, support, unbelievable. And the rugby support is just overwhelming, and I find it tricky. But yeah, every day can have a smile, because we are still here. We are still very functionable. Maybe 6 months to a year time when we maybe can't do the daily things that I'm doing. So feeding the cows, I maybe can't do that in a year's time. So again, I've had to adapt quite a bit and change my farming practice to work with this issue. So when I can't do these things, when I can't feed the cows, when I can't drive the car, things might be a little different. But at the moment, still up, still on, enjoying the company of you, big man, and things like this. And what's the point of complaining? Because again, if I can go back to that email that I received, we're still here and we're still enjoying life. So don't complain, get on with it.
Well, it's incredibly inspiring for people like me, but at the same time, when I was in hospital, looking to people like Matt Hampson, Henry Fraser, even when I could only just move my shoulder, I knew that I didn't have a tracheostomy and I was in a better situation. I look at what they've done and the positive role models they've become, and I thought, how can I complain? Like I've got a duty to get better here because I've got an opportunity to. And in the same respect, you still inspire me to keep going because I've got an opportunity to keep moving forward, and you don't necessarily, but you still keep so positive.
Yeah, but hope, and we're in the hope.
The hope,
that if we stabilise now with the professors and what we're doing in the foundation, then not only myself but everyone else, because numbers are not great with MND. I think there's 500 patients in Scotland, maybe 5,000 in England, but 1 in 300 people will be touched with MND because it's such a short turnaround of people. So 1 to 3 years you're expected to live, so there's quite a lot of people. 1 in 300, I think that's quite a big number there. So with that, the stabilisation would be fantastic. So that's what drives me. Yeah. And then we'll be plateaued, so we'll be here.
As long as you can still lift your drink.
That's it. Exactly that. But and you're the same. If you had a little flicker, I'm sure that gave you a bit of a positive thought that if it flickers on one shoulder, why can't it do another, and why can't and look where you are now, which is just amazing.
There's always hope. There always has to be hope.
It's
the one thing that no one can take away, because who knows what's just around the corner. One thing I wanted to ask you, which because it's interesting talking to someone who can appreciate a lot of the similar things. Right back when you thought you might have MND, was there a moment where it really hit home? Because I remember when I had my accident, I was in the pool, I'd broken my neck, all my movement and sensation had drifted away from me, but I was still sort of cracking gags at my mate, saying, "Stop, it looks like you've seen a ghost," sort of thing. And I thought, just get me to hospital, I'll be fine, we'll sort it all out. But then there was that moment when I woke up in intensive care and tried to move right foot, left foot, and realised that nightmare had become a reality, if you like, and this is a bit more serious. But up until that point, I was just sort of, it'll be okay, because we've had injuries before and you get through it. Was there a specific moment where it hit home for you?
Not in so many ways, no. And I'll tell you why, because again, the rugby, I think I went through my rugby career on a negative way. So after every game, I thought, I'll be dropped for the next one. So if I was dropped, bad news, got it. If I was in the team, yes. So I came into the prognosis on that fact, thinking, yeah, this is it. I know I've got it. But if the actual professor says, no, you haven't, it would be an absolute whale of a time. And say, brilliant, thank golly gosh for that. So I, in my mind, knew exactly what was going on and prepared myself for it, in probably a similar way to yourself. Not understanding the true facts of it, not understanding there's not been a drug for 25 years, there's no help really for people with MND. Didn't know that at the time. I didn't know that I would have maybe 1 to 3 years to live. Who knows what the life expectancy was. So that time was quite a frightening time, but in a way, I've been very fortunate to be given this time. It hasn't been taken away from me just like that. So Mr. MND has said, right, big man, you've got whatever. You make the most of it, you ever get. And I'm not religious, and this is a bit bizarre, and I'm not really told to. I've a couple of people. I had a bad car accident about 25 years ago. And with that road, my discovery and every panel was beaten up, and him upstairs could have taken me away then. And I think he thought, right, we need a rugby player, we'll give you a scare, we don't want you, you're not good enough for me. And then in saying that, my brother-in-law died 4 years ago. He was a sheep farmer, and they must have thought, right, we need a sheep farmer, who are we going to get? Ed, no, you're not good enough for sheep. Right, boom, Michael Dunn, you're coming to see us. So just in one night, away he went. And then now, I think him upstairs, he says, right, you've been lucky in your car accident, we need somebody to sort this MND rubbish out. Boom, Dodge, it's up to you.
That's your purpose.
That's the purpose, and if you control and fix it, then you can stay. If not, you come to see me. And that's not religious, but that's my belief in some ways. So that's why the big fight's here to do it. So the question never really got this deep moment of being a disaster, just didn't know the expectation. But as you mentioned, your rugby mates, I've got quite a lot of great mates who've been very helpful, but who just bring you down to earth. Gary Armstrong, for one, greatest Scotland scrum half, he's been phenomenal on my trust in one thing, but he comes out with some good chat. As soon as I told him just after diagnosis, I said, Gaz, I've got this serious issue. Why is it I've got MND? He says, oh my God. He says, make sure you get the potholes in your driveway filled up. And I says, Gaz, I've just told you I've got a serious man. Why? He says, I don't want a call from your wife to say you've got your electric wheelchair stuck. And that sort of banter has kept me going with the close mates. It's that sort of rugby humour. People might not like it and think it's a bit over the top, but for me, it's been fabulous.
You want to be treated normally, really, don't you?
Yeah.
I remember when Simon McIntyre, one of the Wasp props, when I was still completely paralysed from the neck down, came in and dropped 3 juggling balls on my chest and said, seeing as you're going to be in here for a while, you might as well learn a new skill. But that's great. Everyone's round the bedside doting over you, making it all seem as serious as it probably is. But then one of the boys,
and there was me trying to find a pin to see if it's true.
The potholes
yeah, No, to see yourself and doing your right hand sensation,
I told you I had no sensation. First thing you did was look for a hot coffee to test it.
But that's, I think the rugby banter is very special, and I'm sure you'll find and feel that as well with your mates, and probably still to this day they'll be taking the mick, and it is a lovely family to be involved in that way, and a very caring family as well. And I can't put into words the generosity and the journey we've been on with, and it's been a very emotional one. Like the Doddie Weir Cup that was just fought between Wales and Scotland, to get a cup named after you is just true at that level, is just truly amazing.
Well, you said that you think there's probably a higher purpose for you still being here. You're doing a good enough job to get a OBE, is it? A cup named after you, the keys to the city of Edinburgh. You must be doing something right.
Well, see, this is where I find it very difficult in a way, and yes, we've got a doctorate as well, so we're a doctor, so we can help you. Yeah. Sorry. So Glasgow Caledon University very kindly endorsed me onto that as well, but I feel very guilty, and I'll tell you why. It seems a bit bizarre. I'm very honoured to be sharing these honours, but with that, it's just the magnitude of the love of people doing things. They don't have to be doing something for me, but I'm feeling very, very honoured that they want to do something. So the Cup, for example, the Welsh Rugby Union, the Scottish Rugby Union didn't have to do, and I feel very honoured that they've done that. And it's shown the awareness. Gregor Townsend, the Scottish Rugby team, the schools, colleges that make toast, there's people selling sheep, there's Rob Wainwright and Matt Beaumont are doing a cycle journey from Murrayfield down to Twickenham, 500 miles in 2 days. Las Vegas Sevens have been playing a game in budgie smugglers. Yes.
Is that your idea?
No, it wasn't. No. But it's been, they've done everything with a smile. So to me, all the awards is really testament to every single person who's done something for me, because I'm very honoured for that to happen, and they just haven't needed to do that, but them doing that has created this most amazing awareness and foundation to make a difference.
There's some incredibly good people in the world, and I think when a situation like this highlights those people, but they wouldn't be doing it if you weren't the person you were. I know you're not actively going out there and making a lot of these things happen, but they're doing it for you. So I don't think you should underestimate that. And I know you don't like praise, but I know you're twitching in your seat right now, but that's just the case. You know,
because you would find the same as well, and it's really difficult. It's really emotional.
I call it my cripple cabinet. I've collected more awards for diving into the wrong end of a swimming pool than I ever did for rugby, and it's so awkward when you go up and you collect an award for basically being ill or having an injury.
Yeah.
But off the back of that, if you can help people, and if other people are willing to do things that can help other people, you can't shun these things. It's important because you need to spread the message, and that's what you're doing so well.
Well, I think what we're doing so well as well is everyone has a chance, and if you keep working, we're very lucky to still be here. But yeah, definitely for myself and the foundation, it's not myself anymore, it's for everyone in the world who has MND, the most horrific issue eventually. It just shuts your body down. That I thank everyone for what they're doing.
Right, we've got to talk a little bit about rugby. I know you don't.
Do we? What's up?
No, we don't have to. Do we have to talk about rugby?
Yeah, what it's about. Yeah. Rugby, go for it. You've done well, as you've even got any notes. I'm very impressed with this.
Well, I'm interested.
You're a master at this. Well done, eh? Rugby. Okay. Yeah, coming up.
Right, coming up.
You might have to help me on this subject.
Well, 2 Scottish teams in the playoffs of Europe for the first time ever. How's that reflecting on rugby in Scotland as a whole? Not necessarily the national team, but how things are going on. Because you said some interesting things earlier to me before the interview about the state of rugby in Scotland. Can you just elaborate?
Yeah, because the state of rugby, I think with the 2 teams in Europe, certainly the professional game is going very well, and you can see that with the respective clubs, Glasgow and Edinburgh in the quarterfinals, as you mentioned, the first time ever both teams are in. So that side's going well. But you generally have a look at the bigger picture, which is further up the tree, is how Scotland are doing in the Six Nations. Now, last year we had a fantastic Six Nations, put some great performances in. This year, I don't think things are going that well. We've been very close to possibly winning games, but just not. And I think that's due to we don't have a lot of players in depth at the top level at the moment because we've only got the two teams. So two teams going well, coaches going well. So the feeling on that angle's gone very well. But club rugby is not going so well in Scotland. Gala Shields, which is Gala Rugby Club, which is where my brothers actually still play for, the old boy played for, which has been on a high for many a year, are struggling at the moment because it's the first time in their history they've been unable to put an under-18 side out. And it just shows you the kind of state of rugby in Scotland at club level. Melrose, for example, where I used to play, used to field maybe 5 teams. They're struggling for maybe 3. So numbers at the top level are not there on the club area, and they're trying to change it with a new format, which I don't know if will work or not.
Why do you think the younger lot aren't
I really don't.
Involved?
I don't know, but I think a lot has to do with maybe computer games. I've got 3 teenage sons, and they all play, which I think the sport. I don't mind. This is just my personal opinion. I think kids should be involved in sport. Any sport. It doesn't have to be rugby, but rugby's done me no harm, and I think with a good self, no harm. But sport's a great thing. Gets them out, gets them a bit of exercise, fresh air. But there's a bigger picture. You meet people, you travel. You've got this body of support and care round about you that, and the love as well that I'm feeling is just unbelievable. And you don't get that sitting on your Xbox or on your phone or just can't be bothered. I think it's important that kids get out there. Families should be giving them, and I think we'd say this, a bat and a ball or whatever to get out and enjoy sport in some way, shape or form. It's good for you.
It is good for you.
Yeah.
But maybe with the national team not doing quite as well as you'd hope, being a proud Scotsman, but what would it mean to a city like Edinburgh, for example, if they ended up getting to semi-final, Europe, final, dare say it, even winning the European Cup?
Phenomenal. Well, it definitely would, but I think the problem with Scottish rugby, there's only 2 teams. 2 teams, and in our day, we had a similar setup to English rugby. And this is where English rugby should be dominating the setup they've got, the teams they've got, the professional teams that might have 12 in the top league and maybe similar in the championship league. So that's some in the region between 12 and 24 teams of professional players to pick from. Scotland have 2. Yeah. But on the back of that, we know that there's always, when Wimbledon's on, people just enjoy playing tennis. So with any luck, we might get a surge in people playing rugby with the European rugby, which would be brilliant. And we know as a player, it's just phenomenal to be in the sort of qualifying stages of any cup, but European Cup is the elite to win as a club. And for Edinburgh and Glasgow to be involved in that is just great for the clubs, but also great for the cities because you get a lot of support coming to the cities, and Edinburgh's a fantastic place. So is Glasgow to go and watch rugby, and it's just massive for everything really that your home sides are in that platform. Yeah. I think we're doing quite well in the rugby, aren't we? Because we didn't know much about it.
I know, yeah, doing all right. But like you said, the fact there's 2 clubs is an issue, isn't it? Because at the moment, when you have a few injuries, the Scotland team there's ends up people playing for Scotland who haven't been playing much rugby all year because they don't get into their club side.
Yeah.
Whereas in England, everyone down to the 4th team will be starting week in, week out in the Premiership.
Yeah.
So can they get another club side in Scotland? Where would that come from? Who might that be? Is that something that might be addressed?
Well, it would be addressed, or do they go, here's an idea, and I think it's been talked about, do they come down south? Do the Scottish Rugby Union get involved in London Scottish? Talking point, and so instead of making a side, do they invest? There's a lot of lovely Scots in the big city of London. Were they willing to come on board and try and invest in a side that's already established? And
there'll be a lot more people finding Scottish grandmas all of a sudden.
Yeah, brilliant.
Eat
haggis and drink an Iron
Brew. A few years ago, and they all come back over.
And that's another harder part, you see, because generally I think there's a few players that they've worked on the residency. I think it was 3 years, but now it's up to 5. Yeah. So players have got to stay a lot longer to show they're willing to pay for the country. So again, it's going to make life a lot harder. But there's a big gulf in Scottish rugby from club to professional. And I think you're seeing that, and that's maybe why numbers have reduced. So the players in the club rugby, especially the juniors, maybe I can't see myself getting a contract, so I'm just not going to play. In our day, there was like a ladder effect. If you're involved in the Melrose under 16s or 14s or 12s, you worked hard, you could actually see yourself playing for your country, because you go to your club, you go to your district, you go to your age groups, and then ultimately you could see yourself playing for Scotland. That doesn't happen now. You go to your club, then there's a major gulf, a major reduction in numbers to get into the professional game. But yeah, it's very exciting times ahead for the two clubs. And as I say, it's just one of these things where you've got injuries that will probably benefit Scotland, because a lot of the junior players, the inexperience, are now having a wee shot at international rugby, and that's only for the benefit in the long term.
Well, Doddie, got through the rugby all right.
We did, didn't we? We buffed that well, eh?
It's been an absolute pleasure, as always. I know you hate to hear it, but you've been a huge inspiration to me personally, and to thousands and thousands of other people. So just keep doing what you're doing, keep wearing wacky suits, keep being Doddie Weir, because the world would be a lot darker place without you.
Well, best wishes to yourself, and thank you very much. Lovely meeting you. Thank you, Ed.